Thank you. So thank you for joining me again on this Thursday. It's a pleasure to be with you during your lunch hour. I want to thank all of you who had an opportunity to join, whether it's me or my colleagues. It's been so nice being able to, in a way, interact with you and teach you in a very different setting. I think we've all grown through this experience. I think one thing we've realized here at Beth Yeshurun is there's so many more opportunities that we need to explore online through virtual opportunities, whether it's prayer experiences, teaching like this, programs. Please know when this is all said and done, and God willing soon enough, we're going to continue to do some things like this as we grow as a congregation, as I grow as a rabbi. So please, again, know we are appreciative of your feedback and grateful for you joining us and spending some of your time learning with us. This is a perfect week to teach a class about Israel. As many of you know, yesterday Israel celebrated its 72nd anniversary of its independence, Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day. It's hard to believe that the modern state of Israel has been around for 7+ decades now. God willing, those celebrations will continue for centuries to come. I wanted to share a wonderful text I found on the great website. I highly recommend it. It's called Sefaria. If you've never seen Sefaria, check it out when we're done. Sefaria is the most incredible website, I believe, to ever come to the Jewish world. It is comprised of a complete Hebrew and English edition of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, the Talmud, the Midrash, many of the rabbinic texts. And not only is it comprised of almost any Jewish text you've ever heard of before, it's also comprised of incredible work by colleagues of mine and scholars throughout the Jewish world. You can look up almost any subject and find something interesting to learn. So from time to time, I like to check it out to increase my own learning, to see where I can grow as a rabbi. So in getting ready to celebrate Yom Ha'atzmaut this week, I found this incredible text about an idea about the state of Israel that I've never really thought of before that I thought was perfect to share with you. So let me go and share it with you. It was put online by the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem, which, by the way, I also highly recommend. I've only had the pleasure of studying there a very brief amount of time in my career as a rabbi. I hope, God willing, one day to go there and study more. You don't have to be a rabbi to study there. You don't have to be of any certain age. If you can't ever get to Israel, whether it's 1 week of study or several months or maybe some year, you can take a sabbatical from your job. I know easier said than done, but if you ever have an opportunity, the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem is really just a precious opportunity to study with some of the brightest minds in the conservative movement who live in Israel, and to study with other like-minded modern Jews like yourself. It's really just a really beautiful place. And this was posted by the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem, and it was put together by one of my colleagues, Rabbi Shoshana Cohen. She puts together an incredible look at what Yom Ha'atzmaut can also mean for you and me. So according to the book of Kohelet, one of the books of the Bible, you may have heard this expression before: a good name is better than precious oil. Shem Tov is better than precious oil. And the day of death than the day of birth. And by the way, that could be hours of discussion. How could the tradition say that the day of death is better than the day of birth? Shouldn't it be the opposite? I mean, I celebrate much more at a baby naming a bris than I would ever do at a funeral. So what is Kohelet saying there? James Kugel, in his book, The Art of Biblical Poetry, explains that this verse must be read according to its counterpart 3 chapters later. Dead flies make the perfumer's ointment give off a foul odor. You may be saying, Rabbi, I'm out of here. What are you talking about? Let me explain. By reading these 2 verses together, we can understand the meaning of the first half of the verse and the connection between its 2 parts. An example of this is that it takes only 1 fly to ruin a bottle of oil, and it takes only one bad incident to ruin a person's reputation or good name. A newborn has the potential to be good or bad, but one bad choice or action can ruin things forever. If one's reputation remains intact at the day of death, that reputation remains secured. So when the book of Kohelet says the day of death is better than the day of birth, if you understand it in the context of dead flies make their perfumer's ointment give off a foul odor, perhaps now you could see why the author was saying that if you have that good reputation, you have that Shem Tov, a good name that is better than even the most precious of oils, then the day of death is better than the day of birth. Because at the day of death, your good reputation is secured forever. But on the day of birth, the jury's still out. Will you have a life with a Shem Tov, or will you have a life where you ruin your reputation? Probably not the most upbeat way to look at life, but maybe give some insight into what the author of Kohelet and the wisdom that he is trying to teach us. Now, let's go on. Keep that lesson in mind as we get to Israel Independence Day. We've just recently finished Passover, a testament to the fact that the formative experience of the Jewish people happened in the spring upon the birth of our nation. In commemorating this event as the core of our identity through numerous festivals and mitzvot, it seems we are in some ways defying Kohelet's observation. Right? We're celebrating Passover. Passover is the beginning of our freedom, and we're celebrating it like it's the end. But the way we conduct our calendar and our celebrations, we seem much more excited about new beginnings and the potential they hold than with the satisfaction that comes with having seen a task or event through to the end. For example, there's no ancient festival that explicitly commemorates the entrance of the Jewish people into the land of Israel, ostensibly the goal of the Exodus in the first place. I mean, think about it. We have a holiday of Passover. We just celebrated it. We leave Egypt. We have the holiday of Shavuot that celebrates 50 days later the giving of the commandments at Mount Sinai. But then 40 years later, there is no holiday that celebrates Joshua leading the tribes of Israel into the land of Israel. Wasn't that the goal? Shouldn't there have been a big holiday then? Shouldn't we today celebrate some type of festival that commemorated that moment? That was the goal of the Exodus in the first place. So why the hesitation? Why do we tend to focus our energies on the beginnings and not the ends? The answer to this question is stated most powerfully in Deuteronomy 7. Moses is recounting the experience of the Jews in the desert, from their having been fed manna to their entrance into a land flowing with milk and honey. The land is a good land. There will be plenty of water and bread and fruits and even precious metals. However, it is at this moment, with all its abundance and goodness, that the people who should be praising God for all their good fortune instead say, quote, "My power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me." They have forgotten where it came from. This astute observation on human nature explains why we as Jews tend to celebrate the beginnings and shy away from the ends. Beginnings are scary, but hold a lot of potential. Whether it be a wedding or Passover, we get together at the day of birth to try to set the right path, recognizing that many challenges that lie ahead in the enormous potential for greatness. In contrast, Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day, is in some ways the day of death described by Kohelet. We're celebrating a victory, an accomplishment, and we have a lot to look back at and be proud of. And while this may be a bit of an odd bird in the Jewish tradition, it's become an important part of religious experience. Take time to celebrate our accomplishments, not only the potential, but its realization. The realization that we do have our state. We did make it to the land of Israel again, 2,000 years later, centuries after the Bible was completed. However, here too we must remember the danger of Deuteronomy 7. Once everything looks finished, once we are successful, we can easily say, we did this. This attitude is of self-righteous complacency that can so easily accompany success. And when we have this feeling, we lose the potential to grow. We feel satisfied with where we are and with our own ability to make it happen. We no longer question and we no longer need to enlist the help of others. This is the greatest danger of success. Midrash Tanchuma, Pikudei 3, describes an oath taken by a baby in utero, right when it is about to enter the world. Be righteous, not be wicked. And even if the entire world thinks you're righteous, always see yourself as if you are wicked. At the moment we are most sure that we are right and good, we are at the highest risk of complacency and stagnation. We must always be critical and always be challenged if we are to lead dynamic change in the world and in ourselves. What a reminder for us, and certainly for those of us who celebrate the beauty and the accomplishment that is the state of Israel. It's easy to take it for granted. It's easy to say Israel's been here now for 72 years and look at all the incredible things our Israeli brothers and sisters are doing, the technological advances, the medical advances, all the incredible work they're doing to help in agriculture and in medicine and other needed items that Israel's provided that has truly made this world better, whether it's Israel's work in third world countries or their contributions to our everyday life, whether it's the technology we enjoy in the iPhone or in watching or listening or working on our computers. So much of that comes from Israel. We can take a lot of pride in the work that Israel does to enhance the life of even its own neighbors, who unfortunately, some of which have been at war with Israel since its founding. We can take pride in the righteousness of the Israeli army. Yes, it's not a perfect army, but despite the incredible challenges that Israel's defense forces deal with every day, they're morally guided by the principles that have guided our people for centuries to do their utmost care to protect life, the life of Israelis and the life of even civilians of our worst enemies. We can take a lot of pride in Israel. And we could say it's because of the work Israelis have done, or perhaps you and I have contributed somewhat to that by our support, by our encouragement. But let us not forget that let's not take too much pride in ourselves. There's still a lot of work Israel needs to do. There's still a lot of ways in which Israel can do even better. And it doesn't all come from us. It ultimately comes from God. Let us never be complacent. Let us never take Israel for granted. Let us never think we've made it. All is done. Now we can just enjoy. Yes, Kohelet says that the day of death is better than the day of birth, but the Jewish tradition often disagrees and says the opposite. The day of birth is better because it holds so much potential for us. All the more so, 1948 was a rebirth, birth of the Jewish nation for the first time in 2,000 years. And in some ways, Israel has rose to the potential. But there's a ways to go. There's more that Israel can do. And there's more we can do to help Israel. The story of Israel is not finished. It's just beginning. And will it continue to be a story of a Shem Tov, a good name? Will it continue to be a name we can take pride in? Will it continue to bring about goodness, kindness, compassion for Jews and non-Jews throughout the world? I believe so. I'm optimistic it will. But on this week of the 72nd anniversary of the State of Israel, let's do all we can to make sure that Israel does. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having you join me again next Thursday, or continue to join any of our classes online or our services as we continue every weekday at 7 p.m. and of course on Shabbat at 6 p.m. on Friday evenings and 9:30 a.m. on Saturday mornings, all virtually, all from the safety of your homes, to join us on Beth Yeshurun online. Have a great day.